cemetery stretched out before me, blanketed in moonlight and shadow. I didn't know why I'd come here tonight, but something about the place felt alive, as though the graves were watching. The air was too still, too heavy, and every crunch of leaves beneath my boots sounded deafening. I told myself I wasn't afraid of cemeteries. I'd walked through this one in daylight plenty of times. But tonight, something was different. The etched names on the stones seemed to shift in the flashlight's beam, blurring as if I wasn't meant to read them. Then I heard it, a faint rustle, barely more than a breath of sound. My body stiffened. I swung the flashlight toward the noise, but the beam revealed nothing but bare trees and leaning gravestones. "Hello?" I called out, instantly regretting it. My voice sounded too loud, too desperate. No answer, just the whisper of the wind, except it wasn't the wind. "Go away!" The words slithered into my ears, soft and guttural. I froze, my pulse hammering in my throat. "Who's there?" My voice trembled. Still no reply. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. Against my better judgment, I moved deeper into the cemetery. The graves here were older, the stones cracked and leaning under the weight of decades. My flashlight flickered, its dim beam barely piercing the fog that clung to the ground. That's when I saw it, a figure hunched over a grave, clawing at the earth with its bare hands. "Hey!" I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. The figure stilled, then turned toward me. I wish it hadn't. Its face was gaunt, its eyes bottomless, pits that swallowed the light. Its body rose unnaturally, limbs unfolding in ways they shouldn't. "Leave!" it hissed, the voice impossibly deep, rattling my bones. I stumbled back, and the ground shifted beneath me. Roots erupted from the soil, wrapping around my ankles. I fell, clawing at the earth as the thing moved closer, its silhouette towering over me. "You shouldn't have come," it said, voice echoing like a tombstone slammed shut. With a scream, I tore free and ran. I didn't stop until I was out of the cemetery and back under the harsh glow of a street lamp. I collapsed there, gasping for breath, too terrified to look back. Even now, safe in my room, I can't forget those eyes or the whisper that haunts me still. "You shouldn't have come." I never liked the cemetery, but tonight I found myself there again. The air was thick with fog, the moon barely visible behind clouds. The iron gates creaked open, the sound sharp and unnerving. I tried to convince myself it was just another visit, but something felt off. The stillness was too heavy, like something was watching me from the shadows. As I walked past the graves, a chill ran down my spine, though the air wasn't cold. The trees whispered, but there was no wind. Then I saw her, a woman in a long dark coat, standing by an old stone monument. Her face was hidden beneath a veil, and she stared at the ground, unmoving. "Are you lost?" I called, my voice breaking the silence. She didn't respond. I took a hesitant step closer. There was something unsettling about her. She seemed to be waiting for something, or someone. "Excuse me," I said more firmly. She turned slowly, and when her eyes met mine, a shiver ran through me. Then in a voice that sent chills to my core, she whispered, "Leave now, or it will be too late." "Too late for what?" I asked, my heart pounding. "You don't belong here," she replied. "You shouldn't have come." Suddenly, the ground beneath my feet trembled. I looked down, horrified, as cracks began to form in the earth. Behind her, a skeletal hand shot out of the grave, followed by a gaunt figure rising from the dirt. The woman didn't flinch. She just stared at me with empty eyes. The creature pulled itself up, its mouth opening in a silent scream. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. The earth shook again as the woman turned and began to walk toward the creature, her veil trailing behind her, vanishing into the fog. The ground swallowed the thing back, and I stumbled backward, gasping. The fog thickened, and I knew I had to leave. I didn't stop running until I was far away, but even now I can still hear her voice echoing in my mind. "You shouldn't have come." The cemetery was eerily silent as I entered through the rusted gates, the full moon casting long shadows on the gravestones. I didn't know why I'd come, but something felt wrong, like the ground beneath my feet was alive. I glanced at the graves, their names unreadable in the dim light, and felt an unsettling stillness in the air. I walked deeper into the cemetery, my boots crunching on the gravel. My flashlight flickered, and I nearly missed the narrow path hidden by overgrown trees. Curiosity pushed me forward, despite the growing unease. As I stepped onto the path, a rustling sound came from behind me. I turned sharply, but the night remained still. I shook it off, though my heart raced in my chest. The path wound through twisted trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Then I saw him, a figure in dark robes, standing in front of an old mausoleum. His face was hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat, and he held a lantern that flickered unnaturally in the still air. I called out to him, but he didn't respond. "You shouldn't be here," a voice whispered from beneath the cloak. I froze, my blood running cold. The ground trembled beneath my feet, and before I could react, the path behind me was gone, replaced by thick vines. I tried to back away, but the figure moved closer, the lantern's light casting monstrous shadows. "Leave," he hissed, his voice echoing in the silence. I turned and ran, my legs shaking. As I reached the gates, I dared to look back. The cemetery was still, no figure, no path, just the endless rows of gravestones. I didn't stop until I was home, but even now I feel that cold presence watching me from the dark.